Hello, everyone, and good afternoon, and welcome to a very special interview here on Tales from the Wandering Scribe. I'm your host, Gabriel Garcia. Many of you know me as the Wandering Scribe and the Wandering Quill. And joining us today is a guest I am sure many in the indie community know by heart. Now, my guest today is a full-time PA and PR representative for a variety of indie authors. She offers a variety of different services to help authors lift that weight off their shoulders so they can focus on the most important task at hand, which is to write the worlds we as readers escape into. It started off just as reading and a fun little hobby while being a full time mom, and eventually turned into her own business in a way that she could not even imagine. And from the bottom of her heart, viewers and listeners, and to all the authors she is working with and will work in the future, she is beyond thankful and grateful. So, without further ado, let's give a huge round of applause to a first timer here on the channel, Georgiana. Georgiana, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Awesome. I'm so excited to have you here. And I'm pretty sure I've had a few authors that have been on the show that may have worked with you some time ago.
Yes. Yes. I believe you had Nicholas Wolf
Mm-hmm.
and Christopher Shamood.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and Kevin Goodson.
Yes, and Kevin, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, small world the indie community is, but ultimately an amazing world that it is. Now, before we dive into your background, how you became a PA and PR, as a little icebreaker, Georgiana, what's a random fact about you that not a lot of people know about?
I was born in Romania.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was adopted when I was really young at like 5 and came to America. But I'm originally I have my Romanian roots.
Nice. Very, very
Yeah.
nice. And I can see from behind you that you have quite a collection of books. Now, I imagine these are books that you've just gathered in your own collection, and possibly maybe some authors that we know that are in your
Yeah,
list.
so all on this side is the indie authors that I've connected with and that I bought books from. There's so many different ones. I want to have like a whole section, and I'm hoping to get a new bookshelf to be able to just have that bookshelf of indie authors and then have the rest up here.
Nice. Very, very nice. Now, gonna change it up a little bit. I'm just gonna give you a fan question that one of my viewers sent to me, and they would like to know. And funny enough, that you just showed us the list of your incredible collection. This is gonna be a hard one, Georgiana. But of all the books you've read, what are your top three of last year?
Of last year.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Definitely Shatter by Nicolas Cage. I really fell in love with that story. I love the found family aspect. I love his world building. It's so different compared to what you usually read, especially with the kind of like fantasy romance kind of books. Um, Maximus by Christopher Shamoon.
Oh, yes.
He's a brilliant, brilliant writer.
Yes.
Um, Absolutely fell in love with that story. It's a canon based off the Hush Hush series, which I was obsessed with when I was a teenager. So it was just like nostalgia, like coming back. And then it's hard for the third one because I have two other authors that I really, really, really enjoy their books, but I'm gonna have to say Until We're Dust by Stacey Rhodes.
Oh, yes. Oh,
It
yes. Another author that's been
literally,
on the show.
oh my gosh, it broke my heart. Like it was such a good book, but like the emotional turmoil that I went through with the book and like the relatability that you had with like the female main character was amazing, and the way she was able to portray like the thoughts and emotions of the male main character was absolutely incredible.
I have to agree. I have to agree. And again, another person that's been on the show, Stacy, with a huge shout out to her. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And I apologize for giving you that very tough question because it is quite a difficult question to ask, but I'm
Yeah.
going to change it up a little bit.
Okay.
All right. So now let's actually dive into your background. So going from your bio, this initially started off as just a little hobby somewhere to, just read the books from the authors that, you've connected with while being a full-time mom. So how did that transition come about? What would you say was your aha moment that really made you decide to take this passion and hobby and build a business into it?
So, like you said, I started just doing this as a little hobby, especially with being a full-time mom, and I've always been such an avid reader and love for books. And I remember creating my Bookstagram in April of last year. And I was just posting these little cute reviews. I was connecting with a bunch of people, and one of the first indie authors that I came across was Nicholas Wolf.
Mm.
And I really fell in love with the story. We were talking one day, and he was talking about how he wanted to do character art for his book. And he's like, I've been trying, and like I haven't been able to like figure out exactly like how to do it. And I'm like, well, let me try. I mean, like I have the time, like all the time in the world right now, so let me try it. And I did. And he really loved like the pieces that I did. So we started working together. But I didn't really start thinking of it as a business until Christopher messaged me one day, and he's like, Gigi, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, you're doing all these services for free. Like, do you know how many people like are PR representative for authors that like get paid for this, and you have an income coming in? I'm like, no way. I'm like, no, I haven't heard that. And he's like, Gigi, we're going to have a meeting, and we're going to talk about all the services you can provide and like the prices and so on and so forth. And you're going to do this because
Oh
you
my
stop doing this for
gosh.
free. So we did. And then and I've connected with so many authors along the way already that I let them know that, hey, like I'm starting this as a little business, and they all supported me in amazing ways. And it just took off from there.
Nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. Now, as you were in that meeting with him, did you sort of figure out, what services you want to offer to indie authors? And once you got the ball rolling and seeing, the response you were getting, how did these services, not only benefit the authors, but also benefited you?
So I started like very with not a lot of services, only like things that I've already been doing. So it's like alpha reading, beta reading, like I didn't even start editing until recently, and then it was like arc and street team management, and then we did like brand merchandise for like sweaters and coffees and mugs and that kind of stuff, doing designs for that and like character art. And I create these really cool reels and like videos, so we put that on there. And as I was continuing to grow with the authors, they asked if I ended up doing like this specific service or another specific service. And I'm like, no, but I can try. And then it kind of ended up I've learned like this whole entire time, I was just learning along the way because I haven't ever done this before in my life. So it was a very big learning process, and each author is very different with the services that they want to provide, like they want
Right.
to have and to achieve. So being able to like learn and kind of intake all the lessons that I learned with all the authors is how I was able to grow even more and more. So I was able to expand my services on top of what I was doing already.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, as another fan question, and I'm really curious to hear your answer for this, Georgiana. How did you balance everything once you started connecting with authors and figuring out what services they wanted? How did you not only feel overwhelmed by the amount of people you were working with, but also balancing family life as well? How did you find a routine that worked best for you?
So I don't have like really any like specific time sets for like the days of what I can do. I literally just put all my work into it when my daughter is like sleeping, because that's the only
Mm.
time I can really do it. Like I can create posts for like on Canva and like do reels and stuff while she's awake and I'm like playing with her and stuff. But like the editing, the like administration work and everything else, I do at nighttime when she goes to bed. And I'm usually up till like 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning because
Oh,
I want to make this business succeed as much as possible. And I know with the business, the first few years are going to be your most tough. So I just want to make sure that I'm steady, I'm consistent, and I try to make it work as much as possible.
absolutely, 100%. And another fan question, which actually kind of, you may have answered this, but maybe go a little bit more in detail. Would you consider yourself more of an outliner when it comes to, planning out, okay, I'm going to do this at this time, I'm going to do this at this time, break period? Or will you consider yourself more of a spontaneous person in the sense of if your daughter has, downtime and is sleeping, you can work for however long you have?
Yeah, so I pretty much have what I want my goals are for the day, but I don't have really a time set for when those goals get accomplished. Usually it's at nighttime.
Right.
But if she miraculously takes a nap during the day, that's when I'll go into doing it as well and trying to get as much stuff as possible done. Sorry, I kind of like was tongue twisted. Um, but I think a lot of it, like I schedule my top priority of what I need to get done within like a certain time frame first, and then I'll start doing slowly work my way down with everything else that needs to be done, which is a little bit later out.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Now, for each author that you work with, Georgiana, how do you determine the unique needs that they are asking for and knowing, okay, this is what's going to work for this person, or talking with them? How does that all work?
So every single author is very unique in their own ways, and their stories of what they want to represent for their stories is completely different. So it's honestly easier to kind of separate each of them for their own person and their own needs for the services I provide. But as I talk with the authors, I really like to talk a lot with them to make sure that I accomplish exactly what they ask for. And I'll tell them, like, if I make posts or if I do something, I'll ask them to give me feedback to see if I need to change it in any way, if I need to update it, or if it's to their liking. And once I've worked with them for a little bit of a time, then I already have that already in my brain where I'm like, all right, like this is like the aesthetic, this is what they want, and this is what they're looking for, and like I can pin this with this author. And then I write notes down for each author too, just so I have it in a notebook and to be able to go back in and be like, okay, like this is exactly what they're asking for, and this is how we work, and this is how we can make it all collide beautifully.
Nice. All
Yeah.
right. And then from those early interactions and, continuously keeping in touch with the author, can you describe a particular rewarding experience you had while working with an indie author?
Oh my gosh, I can't really pick one because honestly, every single experience that I've had with indie authors have been absolutely rewarded, to for them to be able to believe in me and my business and to be able to support that as well as me supporting them has been so special. And to be able to have them trust me to be a part of their journey and something that they've been working on for however long they have, and to be able to be so vulnerable and pour their hearts out like they do to have me help them. um it's really really hard to pick one. I have two words. So I'm going to Enchanticon this July with Christopher, and I think it's going to be insane to actually finally meet him in person. I want to give him the biggest hug ever. But also to be able to go to a book event like that, especially like such a huge like fantasy ball event like that, is so crazy because I've always wanted to like do some kind of traveling with any work that I do. And also a book launch event that I had for Bobby Workma for Elemental Awakening. That was
Mm.
really fun. I went to New Jersey and it was an absolute blast. And to be able to really like get the feel of like how book launches happen and what we need to do to make it as successful as possible, it was absolutely immaculate. But to be able to I was so happy. It was such a reward.
Nice. Very, very nice. And now going back to what you said in the beginning, how, the early years are some of the most challenging for any independent creative. What were some of the initial challenges you faced in building your business, and how have you overcome them?
I think my biggest challenge, even to this day, is my own mind. So you see, because I have a lot of connections on Bookstagram, and I know a lot of other people who are PAs and PR representatives, and I can see like big strengths to where I still need to work on my own strengthening towards it. I think it's more of like the comparison. Like when you
Mm,
compare yourself to others, it's just like with authors, when you compare yourself to another author and how well they're doing,
right.
so on and so forth, right? It's like the PA work, especially in the beginning when I was seeing all these PAs get these amazing clientele and really like doing incredible work with them and really boosting them. I'm like, you almost get that imposter syndrome where it's like, can I really do this? Like, am I just like faking it till I make it, or can I like actually have the confidence in myself to really like make this into something that I've always wanted and could never dream about? But what I've learned along the way is you can't compare yourself to other people. The best thing you can do is to help other people rise and thrive, even if it is other PAs. Like I have a few PAs that reached out to me and they're like, hey, can you, like, I have some questions for you. Can you help me with this? And I definitely will help because I want to see everyone around me succeed just as much as I succeed. And that's the mental mindset that you have to have. You can't go out there and try to like battle people and like tear other
Right.
people down in the process. That's not how it works, you know?
Mhm. That's very true and very well spoken, Georgiana.
Thank
So, what would you say ultimately is your goal goal for not just for yourself but for your business and the promise you're making to every new client that you work with?
you. My goal is just to be, like I said into the bio, is to help lift that weight off authors' shoulders. Like, honestly, and seeing them be able to kind of de stress a little bit because I know how much you guys do to put work into even publishing a book, to write the book,
Hmm.
to edit the book, to publish the book. And then you have marketing on top of it. And you have all these different hats that you have to wear to try to make your book as successful as possible and get your story out there. And it is way too much for one person to be doing. So for me to be able to go and to be able to help them, even if it's just one little thing or like a couple different things, like I try my hardest with it. And a big thing that I do with authors, each author is different with like payment wise, like, because I know everyone has a different budget. So I think that's where I really succeed too, is even though I have like a set list price, I will make sure that I work within the budget of the author because I'm not there to take from them. I'm there to give to them.
Right. That is again well said, Georgiana. Well said indeed. And this now kind of goes into what I like to call the reflective aspect of being an indie. So we'll start off with a very loaded question, Georgiana. So brace yourself. And this question ultimately talks about what does it mean to be an indie in the digital age? Because the industry has greatly changed. I'm sure you have definitely seen, a lot of new authors come into the industry, a lot of new narrators, graphic artists, designers, editors, what have you. And that's in part to, social media and the internet. I mean, 30, 20 years ago, everything was, traditional because that was the standard, that was the norm.
Right.
But with social media, the internet, and a few other things that we'll be talking about later, it shifted the industry, shifted the game. And now many people have been able to create businesses based upon their passions. For you, you're able to take your love for books, your love for reading, and build a career upon it. But I am sure there have been moments, as I'm sure you'll definitely agree, social media is a double edged sword. There are days I imagine you probably did not want to post, did not want to work, either were dealing with things you didn't want to deal with at that particular day and time, just the overwhelming noise of social media and just the amount of pressure and expectation that people put on indies. It's just too much. It can be overwhelming. Our imposter syndrome is heightened, and that goes for everybody who works in the creative industry. A kind of writer's block, narrator's block, editor's block, whatever that stumps that person, it's going to be heightened by social media and the internet. But with that said, Georgiana, what has disciplined you to stay true to yourself and your mission statement for your business?
I think the biggest discipline for myself is I don't want to be the reason that someone ends up failing. if that makes sense. So
Mm.
if I don't go and send them a post for that day, or if I don't go into the timeline that we talked about of what needs to get done at this certain time, like if I don't do that, I'm holding them back. And I do not want to be that person whatsoever. And it definitely can be overwhelming, especially with the amount of work that I have gotten from a lot of different authors. But at the same time, I'm the one that signed up for that. I'm the one that's like, you know what, I'll do it, you know, and I have to be able to manage that even through any difficulties that I go through. I think my biggest thing for it is to see the success at the end, even if it's just little wins or big wins, to be able to see them happy, to be able to see them kind of like release that tension, like I said before, just keeps me motivated and keeps me going because I know I'm making um a difference, you know. I know I'm
Right.
helping them in some sort of way, and to even see that little happiness or to see that feedback come back and be like, wow, like thank you so much, like it just empowers me to just keep on going full throttle. And that's why I work every night, because like I want to be the best I can in this industry, especially with social media, because social media is absolutely insane. And to be
Yes.
able to help not only physically be there for the work, but even emotionally be there, mentally be there, even if I have to send them affirmations some days and be like, hey, like today is a tough day, but tomorrow's a brand new day. You got this. Take today to rest if you need to, you know? And I think that's a huge thing too, is no matter how much you work, you also have to remember to rest, because if you don't rest, everything gets even 100 times more overwhelming as well.
Very true. Very, very true. And this next question is one that I've been asking a lot of people on the show now for about, I want to say now 7 years going on. And it's mainly this discussion of what era are we in? And I'll give some reasons behind why I asked this. Is because, a lot of us creatives, a lot of us indie, especially people I've had on the show, we all began a career during the lockdown. I myself was no exception. I began writing all four of my books. They are called my COVID era books because they were all written. Yeah, they were all written during the lockdown period. And then after, when things started getting better, I published one after the other. Gathering was published in May. Amnetus was published in October. Michael was published year after that. Decimus was released not too long ago, and now currently working on book 5. And what I mean by, what era are we in is that before the rise of, technology with AI, indie creatives were on the rise. I mean, we flooded the industry with new content. And a lot of people say that it's now oversaturated, which there's some truth to that. But with the rise of AI and technologically driven content, it really has shifted the playing field because you
Right.
now have a split. You have people who are passionate about the industry who want to grow. And then you have those that are trying to use this industry to make a quick buck, which I'm sure you'll definitely agree. Regardless if you're an editor, narrator, author, or anyone in the publishing industry or any creative industry, whatever, it's not a get rich quick scheme. It is a hustle. It is a grind. There are days where it's just absolutely frustrating, but there are those people. So, in your opinion, Georgiana, from your own experiences and possibly hearing the testimonies of some of the authors that you've worked with, do you believe that we are in a golden age or have we transitioned to an iron age?
Definitely an iron age. With COVID happening and with the economy the way it is right now, and how everything's just been crashing, honestly, and how everything else has been rising in prices, it is so hard. It is so hard because before you were really able to actually like have money in your pocket and to be able to like do like fun things that you want to do and to be able to really build on something that you want to build. But nowadays it's like all this money that you're getting is to pretty much survive each day because of how excruciating it is to really like live in the general world. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people, when they're on social media, some people forget that a lot of us have other things going outside in the real world, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So, because there is some experiences where I was on social media with a few different people where they're like, oh, like, especially in the beginning because it wasn't like a full-time thing I was doing, but they're like, oh, like, um, why haven't like why hasn't this gone done yet? Or like, have you read the full extent of my book where like I sent it to you like a couple days ago and stuff? And it's just like, but we have an outside life. Like being a full-time mom is going to be first and foremost, no matter what. And I tell
Absolutely.
to my authors all the time, and most of them, they're like, yeah, like we completely understand, we completely agree, we can work with it, you know? But then there is some other people that out there that is really trying to like push their books or push their creativeness out there to make that quick buck, like you said. But it's almost like they become hostile over it.
Hmm.
And that's where the differences come in with it as well, because it's like you to be able to succeed in a type of environment like this and a type of business like this, you have to try to be as positive as possible, but also you have to be kind too in the process of it, you know? Like you got to think every single person that's on social media, every single person is trying to make it, you know? They're trying to have a better life, to create a better life, to have something that they absolutely love doing and to be able to go full send with it. But it's hard because there's so many people on social media. So you have to be authentic. You have to be unique with it. And I think a lot of people get lost with that and start kind of following what other people are doing. But it's like when you start following what other people are doing, then you kind of fall in line with, okay, well, there's so many people that do that, right? But if you start being really authentic and unique and stay true to yourself along the way, that's how you're going to rise. That's how you're going to succeed and really overcome everything that you want to overcome.
Right. Very true. And this goes into a follow up. You're talking about how, you have worked with authors that, are completely understanding of, that you are a PA, you do are PR, but your duties first and foremost are to your family. They come first before anything else, as it should. But then you also have those that are trying to, push their book out and really trying to bring awareness. And this brings up the notion of the power of saying no. And the reason I bring this up is that it doesn't get a lot of discussion. And the power of no from doing the show now really affects, in my opinion, four types of people in the industry: graphic designers and illustrators, narrators, editors, and PA and PR individuals. Now, Georgiana, in your opinion, how important is it? And this can also be a word of wisdom to others who want to get into, the PA and PR service industry, the power of saying no. That just because, there is an author out there that may be looking for a PA, you don't have to necessarily say yes to every author, because their books and what they do with their books and what they represent may not align with what you want to promote.
Right. Um, the best advice I can give for that is you're gonna have to say no at some point. Because if you just keep saying yes, 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 and taking every single person in, you're gonna overwhelm yourself and you're gonna burn yourself out. And then you're not gonna be able to fully succeed the way that you want or to be able to represent as higher and like greatly as you would like for the authors that you are already working with. Another thing too is there is some people out there, some authors out there, because I've heard stories. I haven't been through it myself, thankfully, but I've heard stories where the authors aren't nice to their PAs and PRs.
Mm,
They're not kind, or the PAs and PRs get used, and then they do all this work and they don't get paid. So you kind of have to like, and that's why I like to do a video interview with authors, like one-on-one before we even start working, to get the feel of them, to get like kind of like the vibe of them. Because if I don't like the vibe, if I don't like the feel of it, I push it to the side. Honestly, I'm not doing that because I know it's going to cause trouble down the road.
right.
Um, but I think the biggest thing is it's okay to say no. It is okay to say no. You don't have to feel bad for saying no either. And like you said, you aren't always going to connect with what the book is representing or what that person is representing. And that's okay too. We are all different human beings. We like certain things, we don't like certain things. But if you don't like that certain thing, don't go and try to promote something that you don't like, because that's going to come back on you. If
Hmm.
you don't agree with certain views that that person has, but you still work with them, no one's going to know that. They're going to think that you agree with those views, you know, and that can cause
Right.
problems as well. So you have to be very honest the entire time and let them know too, like, no, because I don't see myself being able to connect with the book that you have, or just connecting with you. Or you can just say no and just be like, I have too much work already and I'm already booked to the point where I can't take another person on, especially if they make you feel uncomfortable. Because if they didn't make you feel uncomfortable just from the initiation of it, they're going to make you feel uncomfortable for the rest of the time that you work with them. And I actually did have one author where I felt very uncomfortable, and I wasn't even like getting paid for the purposes of it. I was just kind of helping him out. And but the way he was acting and the way that he made not only me but other people around us feel, it was not okay. And eventually I had that confidence, because it was hard. It definitely is a hard thing. But I had the
Hmm.
confidence to be like, hey, like I can't do this anymore. I don't agree with what you represent. I don't agree with what you're saying and speaking out into the world. And also all the work that I put in, like I don't get paid for it with you. I was doing it as a kind gesture, but I physically cannot do that anymore. And and he did apologize, but we ended up disconnecting after that, and that was it.
Yeah, it is a hard thing to say no, but it is very, very necessary. And this actually kind of goes into the next question, which I like to call the marketing side, the business side of being, PA and doing PR. What are some of the major misconceptions that you have learned in your research when becoming, PA and PR representative for authors?
Um, I think the major things, especially when there's people trying to like create their own business with it, is I don't think they realize how much work goes into it.
Mm,
Like, I think that they're like, oh, well, you do this and like you make money, like that's great. But they don't actually see the back end of it, and they don't see how much detail and work you have to put into it to make it succeed as much as possible. And that's for each and every author that you work with. You can't just halfly do something. You have to go fully into it, because if you halfly do something, that doesn't help you and it does not help the author at all. And if you want those author testimonies to come back, you want those reviews on your own work coming back as high as you can possibly get, you have to put that amount of work into it. Um, but also being I think just being able to have like some kind of schedule as well. I think people think like, oh, you can just do it on the fly, or you can just, it's quick and easy, like simply done. Like, all right, like you want to post, I'll create this post, and like that's it. I send it and they're happy with it. And that's not how it is. You're going to get critique back. You're going to get feedback back. And you have to be able to intake that and not get personal about it either, you know,
mm.
because I think you just have to be very strong minded and very strong hearted to work in this business as well, especially if you want to make it succeed. If you're doing this for fun, totally understand it. Like I was doing it just for fun before, so I didn't really have like the consistency that I have now. I didn't really put so much into it. Like I did with each design that I did, but not as much as I'm doing now, where I'm like, no, like I have to set standards for myself. I have to discipline myself throughout this process. And I don't think a lot of people realize that you do have to do that. I think a lot of people misinterpret PAs and PRs as just like kind of like help, but really they're like the back enders. Like they're like the behind the scenes workers to really make someone in a book succeed.
Very, again, very true. Very, very true. And this next question, it may be a little bit of a challenge, Georgiana, but I'm very curious of your answer to it. How do you stay updated on industry trends that could positively impact the authors that you work with?
It is so hard. I'm still in I'm still in the process of that. And like still learning that, because there's so many different trends going around at once as well. And it's like you almost have to pinpoint the exact trend that also aligns with your book and the author. So being able to find those few trends that you can pinpoint with it and then accommodate them with it and create something for it doesn't mean that it will work. It's almost like with the trends and stuff, you have to be like one of the first few people to get right on it and send it through. Because even if you wait a couple hours after you see this trend blowing up, like it's not going to blow up the way that you want it to, and you have to be very unique and original with it. Like, yes, it's a trend and you're following the basis of it, but you have to put your own twist into it. And I think that's where it's like really hard to be like, okay, well, what can we do to make it authentic and make it unique and make it so people are like, oh my god, that's amazing, like really go into your page and like following you and so on and so forth.
Nice, very, very nice. Now, again, this next question is probably going to be the most difficult one because it's a very personal question. Can you talk about a successful campaign you've run for an author and what made it so successful?
So right now I'm actually in the midst of completing a campaign for Bobby Workma for Elemental Awakening. She had a Kickstarter campaign back in October. And I started working with her towards like the like November, I want to say. So I wasn't even there in the beginning process of it, but I was there for like when we talked about it and we were setting it up and everything, but I wasn't officially working for her. And then when I started actually working with her, I overtook like the campaign duties and I like got all the items that we needed for the campaign to send it out. And I think the biggest thing was the setup on social media for the campaign. You have to be very consistent with it, but you also have to make it like in people's faces. Like you have to make posts and create these kind of posts where it makes people like intrigued into it. And I think she had a very, very amazing team and still does now to where we are able to stay consistent, but with the aesthetic to her book as well. But she's definitely been like one of my most successful clients just because so she published her book in February of 2026 and it already has over like 1,000 pre-order 1,000 ebook orders. Unfortunately we lost 2,000 pre-orders before the book got published because Amazon kind of screwed up. So that was a lot of pre-orders lost. But I think the biggest thing that made the campaign successful is this book released in February. It's her first debut book. And she started marketing for this book back in August. So it was months ago that she started marketing for this and like really like put all her money into like the art, the people, building the teams, the street teams, the art teams. Also with her art teams, she had different rounds of ARC readers and she had a ton of ARC readers for each round. So that was all the reviews and feedback coming in and more people getting interested for the book. And I think that's what really, really made it successful because I feel like when other authors that I've worked with, they only have like ARC teams of so little, like 20, 25, 30 people. She had over hundreds of people. And I think to be able to send the book out to as many people as possible, but also not making yourself not profit, you know what I mean? It kind of helps you be able to be shown and represented more and to be able to really be more diverse throughout the world, you know? So
Yes, absolutely. Very, very true. Now, what skills do you believe are essential for someone who wants to go into this line of work? Because as we talked about before, it's not just, oh, this, and this. It's a lot of other things, a lot of skills that you have to bring together, like computer literacy or staying updated with trends, doing maybe possibly Photoshop or having a lot of social media accounts. If you're not a social media type person, oh, hey, you got to have a lot of different accounts to help post around or have access to the author's other accounts to help post there, all that stuff.
Right. I also think to have the skills of connecting with people. So I think the biggest thing, because I have anxiety myself, don't get me wrong. Like when I'm face to face with a person, I get like wicked bad anxiety, especially for my first time. But you have to be able to message people. You have to be able to talk with people. You have to be able to be open-minded as well. And I think that's a huge thing. You have to stay true to yourself. You have to be able to have the computer skills, like you said, like the computer literacy skills, the intelligence of it, like the administration works and stuff. Like you have to make sure that you're able to do like spreadsheets and documents and be able to do sign-up sheets for authors for like ARC and street team management if you want to do that. You have to be able to learn how to be a leader as well, especially for those groups, to be able to continue those groups going. And then another skill more it's other personal skills is consistency, discipline,
Yes.
and then not being so hard on yourself throughout the process of it. I think that was the biggest challenge for me too, is there were some days where it's like I felt like I wasn't doing enough or I wasn't doing good enough, and I was. It's more of my own enemy in that point. You know what I mean? And I think to be able to have a strong mindset and to really be able to be resilient is huge skills that you need.
Yes. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more on that. Now, going back to what you talked about, building connections and having that interaction, how do you establish and maintain relationship with authors and others in the publishing industry?
Um so usually, like I said before, we do like a one-on-one kind of video interview before. Like we discuss what we want to work on, like with the author, but we also get to know a little bit about each other a little bit more too. So it kind of it's like the icebreaker where it's like, okay, like we discuss face to face. We know what we look like. We're not fake. We know what we sound like. You know what I mean? Like that's
Mhm.
what we're gonna work on. But I think maintaining that relationship is extremely important. Even when you're done working with that author and you go and work on with other authors, stay connected with that author because they may come back around and be like, hey, like I'm working on this now. Can we work again? You know what I mean? Be able to build those connections as well and to be able to have a list of people that you work with, just so they're always there. But I think the biggest thing is connection with the authors. Like it doesn't always have to be so job related. It can be like person to person talking related, you know? There's some days where I talk with my authors and we're like, wow, today was a bad day, guys. You know what I mean? And like we talk about everything that's happened. But I think being able to establish that confidence and to be able to establish like, hey, like this is how I'm feeling today, this is what we can get done today, or like if you're going through something with your life, like okay, you go focus on that, we'll focus on this. To be able to do that is exceptional. You have to really be a people person and to really be able to learn how to like emotionally intake the room as well, like reading the room.
Yes, and very much the same thing. Like for every author that I have on the show, I have like, an application process and we talk via email. And I try to see who they are based upon like their posts. I know some people say you're not supposed to do that because you're only getting one side
Yeah.
of the person. But I like to have, interactions and try to see, who they are. And I'm very happy to say that a majority, if not all the authors that I have met on the show have become very good and very dear friends of mine. So much
Yeah.
so I've had like quite a few made their second, third, fourth, sometimes even fifth appearance on the show, which is absolutely insane. And I also have to say that, as an author and also as a podcaster, that's another skill too. Going back before, having, personal skills like talking with people, building that collaboration and relationship. Because as indies, we're all in the same boat. We are all going through the same issue. And I can definitely say that, and I'm sure you would definitely agree, it really does help when you have your own tribe that can provide support, guidance, and help when you need it. And I think you've already mentioned, advice about, anyone wanting to get into the industry. But I'm very curious, what do you love most about working with indie authors compared to maybe hearing, well, actually, let me rephrase this question because it kind of gives like citing either or. What has been your relationship and work collaboration with indie authors as opposed to if you've ever worked with a traditionally published author?
So I've never worked with a traditionally published author. And it doesn't mean that I would never do it. I probably would. But I think with like indie authors, I love like the concept of the underdog rising above, you know? Like we all
Mm,
start from the beginning and it is so hard to get through those steps of the beginning. So to be able to watch them bloom pretty much like and rise from where they first started to even where they are now to where they want to go into the future is exceptional. I love being able to watch that. I love being on the journey for that just because I'm like a huge um such a huge supporter for anyone and everyone around me because I love to support as much as possible because I know what it's like to not feel supported, you know,
mm,
and I know what it's like to have um really bad days like I've said before and to know that even though I've worked with these authors they've also become dear friends of mine as well and to be able to go and have this cool group of people that like are so different and we live worlds apart and yet we all come together as one to collaborate and into something that we all love doing and that we are so similar with but with indie authors I think just being able to be in the beginning aspects of an author's journey is so much more rewarding than being at the end aspect. And
mm,
I'm only saying that because I think you really get to see the exact person that that author is in the beginning because they're so vulnerable and they're putting their heart on their sleeve and just really pushing something that they fell in love with creating and sharing it to the world is incredibly brave and like I honestly could not do that. I'm thinking of it but like it's very like scary. So to be able to like be there and just to watch them rise and to see their successful little celebrations that they do and to see them at book events and being happy and thriving, I think that's just so much more rewarding. With a traditionally published author, I just don't like all to them like they succeed very well. I definitely could say that, but I just think that I wouldn't be as working as intimately with them as I do with the indie authors, if that makes sense. And
yeah,
I love having that intimacy with them.
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, before we get to the final question of this amazing interview, Georgiana, we're now going to go into the rapid fire round of fan
Okay.
questions. Now, these questions are going to be more to you as a reader. So let's see if you
Okay.
can answer some of these. A lot of people have been stumped by them. So, first question. As a reader, which do you prefer, themes or tropes?
Tropes.
All right. What is the most overrated trope in fiction?
Enemies to lovers.
Most un
Even though I love that trope, but I just it's so overrated.
Yeah, that is true. A lot of people have said that. Now, what do you think is the most underrated or underappreciated trope in fiction?
Ooh, that's a good one. For trope, I would say grief.
Ooh, I like that. I like that one. Now, of the five physical senses, when working with authors and also reading books, which sense do you think is the hardest for an author to write and for a reader to experience?
Hmm. Probably touch.
All right. Yeah, touch, people say touch, taste, and probably smell are probably the ones I've been hearing a lot on the show.
Yeah,
Now,
because I feel like you can feel something, but actually like feeling like you're touching it. Like I think that's hard.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, which do you prefer more as a reader in terms of an opening? Conflict or suspense?
Suspense. Hook me
All
right
right.
in.
All right. Next one, I'm trying to go down the list. I have a lot of these rapid fires, ones that Have it as. Ooh, oh no, this is gonna be tough.
Oh
Okay,
no.
going back to your indie wall, of the books that you have read and worked with, which one would you love to see as an audiobook production?
Oh, um, damn. Uh, Maximus.
I was gonna say Maximus. Maximus has
Maximus.
a lot of evidential with audiobook narration, and I would actually be very curious if he goes down that road. Who would he cast as the main leads? There's a lot of potential. That and definitely Michael. I would love to see the prequel to that. I would love to see who he gets that.
Thank you. I love Michael. Okay. And I think a lot more people need to read Michael. I keep telling Christopher this, but he got a really bad review from an AI Avenger on Goodreads that just made no sense whatsoever. They didn't even read the book, none of it. And like, I think it really deflected his confidence with it. And I'm like, dude, no, absolutely. Because Michael was so good,
It
especially for the
was.
prequel. And I really think we need to push that out more. And people
Yeah,
need to fall in love
definitely.
with it.
Michael is such a really great book. I honestly loved it a little bit more than Maximus just because I also wrote a book that was also Michael, Last Angel of Earth, when I was interviewing him on my show last
Yeah.
year. And yeah, Michael, such a great book. I hated Michael in that book.
Me too.
That he's like, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, he's if he's supposed to be the good guy, he's not doing a really good job. And you kind of make it seem like, well, is this intentionally trying to write from Lucifer's perspective? Because it kind of is written for his.
Yeah,
But
no, but that's what I loved about it too, is because in the beginning you're like, okay, like especially like the first half, I'm like, I absolutely despise and hate Michael. But at the end of it, when it kind of switched with Lucifer, I'm like, it was incredible how he was able to do that. And he works so hard on his books and his
yes,
writings that I'm like, to be able to have people be like, oh, that's not like, it is real. I've seen it. I've seen his process. Like, I could not recommend his books enough, and he's working on a book right now that
yes,
he's almost done with, and I'm telling you, you guys are gonna get blown away.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, kind of still staying in your indie corner of the books, and you can just not in any particular order. If you had to assign a song to describe the book, what would it be? We'll start with Maximus and Michael just to start off.
Oh my gosh, I'm not good with song names. There's this one song that I would use for Maximus and Michael that we've actually posted on his posts a couple times. Oh, Fallen Angel. That was such a rock and roll kind of song. Um,
Ooh, I'll have to check that one out.
It was actually really good. I'll have to send it to you, but I don't know the artists.
Okay, so Fallen Angel. Any other songs you can think of for any of the books?
um, let's see. Until We're Dust would have to be. Oh my gosh, what is this song? It's by Zoe Wees. Uh, called Control by Zoe Wees. It talks about like anxiety and stuff too, but it is so powerful. And I feel like with Bailey in like the beginning, she discusses a lot
Mm,
about like breathing and like the anxiety
yes.
effect of going through everything. But then obviously James, when he comes back, that's anxiety, but they kind of like work through it and he helps her kind of overcome more and more of it. And I think that song is so perfect for them.
Nice. Very, very nice. Now we're getting into another one. And this question has stumped a lot of people. Now, in your opinion, Georgiana, working with authors and also as a reader, which of these two do you think is the most difficult for an author to experience towards the end of the drafting phase? Knowing when to stop writing or knowing when to stop editing?
Knowing when to stop editing. Because I
Yes.
feel like when they get into the editing phase, they really almost some authors like really change the whole story by the time they are done, I think. And the story was actually brilliant before it. So I think it's just a second guessing of themselves, and also always trying to be like, well, would other readers like this? What would they think of it? And I think they need to stop thinking of what they would think of it and start sticking with themselves and what they believe their story was to be when they first started writing it.
Absolutely, Georgiana. Absolutely. And as the final question of this incredible interview here on the show, with everything we've talked about and more, what are your hopes for not only your business, but for yourself? And secondly, what do you want people to take away when working with you and hiring you as their PR manager?
Um, Obviously, like I would love for this to officially be my full time. Like it is a full time PAPR working business, but to have it be like my life business, to have it grow and to be as successful as possible, but still have like a steady income coming in to where I'm able to provide for my daughter and to be able to have a good amount of money to like be able to do fun things and stuff with her without having to worry about like costs and financial wise and everything. Um, but I think my biggest thing is I just want people to feel comfortable, you know, and I think that's a huge thing. It's very scary going in like hiring someone being like, okay, well, I'm giving you my work and now I have to trust in you to make it like better, you know? And I want to be able to help like the indie authors know that they don't have to do this alone and that there are people here that's willing to give their all to make them succeed, to watch them rise, you know? I just want to make everyone feel as empowered and as positive and as special as they can possibly be.
Beautifully said again, Georgiana. And on that note, viewers and listeners, we conclude this incredible interview here on Tales from the Wandering Scribe. I want to give a huge thank you to Georgiana for making her official debut here on the channel. Now, Georgiana, where can people find you on social media if they want to connect with you? What are some upcoming campaigns that people can look forward to? And are there any special shout outs you want to give to the viewers out there?
Yes. Okay. So you can find me on Instagram and TikTok. It's under my handle Bookworm Reviews 97. I also have a YouTube that's under the same handle, but I need to be better with updating that. Um, my special shout outs is definitely to a few people, especially within an author group that I'm part of or was part of, but we all talk still. It would be MC Flores. She's actually writing a book right now called Ungodly, which is really, really good. Christopher Shamoon, of course. Stacey Rose, they're
Yes.
obsessed with them. I love them so much. Nicholas Wolf, absolutely.
Yes.
He was the first one that ever believed in me, and that's something I will never, ever, ever forget. I want to give a shout out to all the lost ones in the group chat for his book as well, because we've been so connected since day one, and we're always there to support each other, which I really, really absolutely love. I want to give another shout out to Elle Pace. She has a book, The Light in the Shadows, I believe. Such a sweetheart, and she's been through so much, and yet she's still overcoming and she's conquering, and I absolutely love that. I also want to give a shout out to Juliet Fox Writes. She is hilarious and she's so funny. Georgia Kane, Kevin Goodson. It's just all people that I've nonstop connected with and been in connection with. And there's so many other ones out there that I would love to give a shout out, but I just have a list that would go on forever and ever, honestly. But a huge shout out to my friend Alicia as well. She's all the way in Australia, but I would love to meet her one day, and she's an exceptional human being.
Nice. And before we sign off, do you have any upcoming events that you're going to be doing with some of the authors that you're working with?
So I have the Enchanticon in July, which that'll be really fun. So I'm going as the assistant for Christopher for his book. But I'm also gonna have cards and stuff with my business information to hopefully connect with other authors there. And then I don't really have any other book events so far. It's still on like in the progress and works. I know I'm going to be doing like a campaign, like a Kickstarter campaign for another author shortly. That will be starting soon, which will be really, really fun, but that won't be until like May. Um, and then yeah, that's about it so far. I'm hoping to have more events next year, but this year's pretty just booked with work.
Absolutely. I will link all that down below in the description of this video, viewers and listeners. And if you're an author looking for someone to help you, I highly recommend contacting Georgiana. And I'm in the same chat as she is, and all the authors that she mentioned. We talk, we converse, we help one another. So if you're looking for a PA and someone who is going to be by your side through thick and thin, definitely go and check Georgiana out at her socials down below.
Thank
And
you
if
so
you'd like
much.
to see her, you're welcome. And if you'd like to see her back on the show, possibly with one of the authors that she is working with, or possibly working with in the future, like this video, comment down below, and most importantly, subscribe. Now, before we do end, I did want to give a last minute announcement. For those that already know, I'll be making my first big appearance, or rather second big appearance, at this year's Los Angeles Times Festival of Books, booth 128. I'll be there on April 18th, pretty much the whole day. So if you want to meet me in person, that is where I'll be. I'll be selling copies of The Gathering, Son of Persia, Last Angel on Earth, and of course, Decimus, the Wolf of Rome. And I have also updated my interview form to now be the Indie Spotlight packages. So if you are an author, editor, narrator, a historian, what have you, looking for exposure and also to be featured not only on the channel, but in my newsletter, Instagram, what have you, go to my website and click on the link of the Wandering Scribe tab. That will have all the information. And on a final note, thank everyone for joining us for an incredible interview here on the show. A huge thank you to Georgiana for making her first appearance on the channel and hopefully not the last. And until next time, this has been the Wandering Scribe and the Wandering Quill signing out. Wishing you all a wonderful evening wherever you are in the world. Happy Saturday, everybody, and we'll see you all next week. Take care and have a wonderful day.